Hello everyone. Today we are discussing Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. This is my book review and I will not mention any spoilers, so feel free to continue watching whether you've already read it or not. What is the background of this book? So this was published when Bret Easton Ellis was 21 and it pretty much became instantly infamous. It was his first novel. He started writing it when he was 19, I believe. And he is the author of American Psycho. That's probably what he's most famous for. What is this book about? This is the story of Clay, an 18-year-old from LA who just went off to college and comes home for the first time after 4 months at college. He spends his Christmas break back in LA for a month, where he sees his family, his ex-girlfriend, and his friends. And pretty much all of them are good-looking, rich, unhinged, messed up, drug-taking people. This novel is pretty short. My edition has 195 pages. And a fun fact about Bret Easton Ellis is that he actually went to college with another really famous author, Donna Tartt, and she actually dedicated her book, The Secret History, to him. So this was my second time reading this, and after the first time I read it last year, I thought, I'm not sure I liked this, because this was very unpleasant, but I wouldn't say that this was a bad book. But this year, I appreciated it so much more. I think it's really extraordinary, unique, distinct. And if you like disturbing and dark literature and you don't mind graphic depictions of various kinds of violence, I think you will find this worth your time. But I also think that this is definitely not everyone's cup of tea. If you don't like any of those things that I just mentioned, like messed up, disturbing literature with graphic scenes of violence, then stay away, because I don't think that you will find this worth your time. So what did I like about this? What do I think makes this so unique? Let me elaborate. So I did some background research, as I like to do when I like a book. I like to read about the author and the themes in the book and analysis, and I like to read and watch interviews with the author. And I read an interesting interview with Bret Easton Ellis where he talked about two American writers that he came across when he was young that really made a lasting impression on him. Those two authors that he mentioned were Hemingway and Didion. And he said that they made him realize the importance of a literary voice, because he says that otherwise it's just a story and all stories have already been told. It's about how you tell it. And I think there's definitely some truth in that, because we're all human, and while everyone has their own unique life experience, there are also themes and experiences that everyone deals with and that come up again and again in different books. But this book really does have a unique voice, and I've read a lot of books, but I can't remember any other book that I've read that has a similar voice. And I find this really impressive and interesting. So the author doesn't use any complicated words or language that you have to resort to a dictionary to understand. I would say the vocabulary is pretty simple, but it's effective literally from the first page until the last page in creating this vivid atmosphere with this constant underlying tension and threat of violence and darkness and moral decay. And this just carries on throughout the entire book, and it really gets under your skin, and What I also find remarkable is the conversations between the characters. There are no conversations that carry on for like pages and pages. There are a lot of conversations that are shorter, but they still hit me in the gut, and everything feels so raw and honest. What's also interesting about this is the structure. So it's told in the present tense, which is already an unusual choice, and there are also no traditional chapters. It's more just a series of encounters and scenes, and also flashbacks to an earlier time in Clay's life. But it doesn't feel disjointed or confusing at all. I think it works really well for this story, and the flow is good. So I would like to end this by reading part of a sentence. I sit there, and the need to see the worst washes over me quickly, eagerly. The reason why this sentence caught my attention was that I thought it's relatable, and that seems a little bit ironic because I feel like this describes me as the reader reading this novel about these unhinged people doing immoral things. Like, I feel like this describes me reading about this, almost this voyeuristic pleasure. So if you've read Less Than Zero, I would love to hear your opinion. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Why? What do you remember about it? And if you haven't read this, but you think that you will enjoy this based on what I told you, then I have a tip to enhance your reading experience. If you like listening to music while you read, listen to the soundtrack to Requiem for a Dream by Clint Mansell, and also the song Transgender by Crystal Castles. I did this while I reread this year for the second time, and it fit so well, and it really intensified the reading experience and made it more pleasurable. Thank you for watching, and I hope I will see you again soon.